Okay, we are discussing automatic weapons. Ed, please continue.
Elizabeth, you have some statistics to share.
No, I want to hear Chris. I said Chris and Kevin. You get to respond before we veer
Especially
off.
Kevin hasn't spoken on this at all. Kevin, do you have any thoughts or questions?
I, I I don't understand why there's this big issue over whether it's a handgun or an automatic weapon. You point it, you pull a trigger, someone dies. The end result is the same if it's used.
Thank you,
I
Chris.
I don't understand why it's so
Tavern
important to have
cheered.
this distinction.
X100.
And going back to something Chris said earlier about the fact that when you talk about gun control, virtually everybody is going to come back in some form or another and say, yes, you need gun control. The question is not whether you need control or not, it's what level of control and who gets to decide how that's policed.
Pavlon
That's
cheered.
always the real
X100.
undercurrent of an argument about gun ownership.
It is, and it's the emotional argument instead of the logical argument that usually ends up dominating the conversation. Logically, I think we can all agree, hey, yeah, let's make sure people who would be dangerous with these items shouldn't be able to get them. Now, that requires documentation, that requires background checks, that requires, more than just going, no, I'm good, I promise. But, Chris, did you have some more thoughts you wanted to add?
I mean, I think we should regulate them like we regulate cars. Honestly, sure, a car can be just as dangerous, if not more, on occasion, and more people die in car accidents than gun accidents. However, I think you need to be licensed. I think you need to go through a multi-hour safety course. I have taken safety courses with guns because my parents were, from a very young age, of the opinion that, you needed to learn about said things and how to operate said things safely. Now, I was an adult before I ever held a handgun, but rifles and that sort of thing took several safety courses. And I think, vision tests, background tests, all of those things, can you prove that you are in a stable enough state that you can operate this weapon safely?
Now, let me ask you this, Chris. You mentioned regulated like a car. So you don't need a license to buy a car. You need a license to operate a car. And also, once you have a license to operate a car, you can operate any car. Now, you need a separate license for a motorcycle. You need a separate license for CDL, school buses, 18-wheelers, pulling a double, pulling a triple. These are all different endorsements and separate training and long training for the CDL and whatnot. So,
Yep.
you think just different endorsements on your weapon license for different types of weapons?
I do.
I don't think that's unreasonable. Elizabeth, do you have some thoughts on that? I'm curious about what you think.
I very much like safety courses, and I like people practicing the basics. And I think a lot of times when accidents happen, it's because they're not doing the basics and not respecting the weapon. Or, for example, not watching TV while you're cleaning the weapon, not drinking while you're handling the weapon, kind of the basics. But people forget. So it is, I think it's imperative to always respect. But I would like to see more people taking safety courses with driving too. So
Let me put it this way: when it comes down to safety, I would not clean my bandsaw or my table saw while watching TV or while drinking. I just don't want to do that. It sounds like a bad idea.
I know, and you'd be surprised how many people.
Do you have a TV in a place in which you operate those machineries?
Not where I operate them, but I can bring the machine into the living room.
Who is bringing a fucking table saw into the living
table
room
saw
to clean it while
is-
watching TV?
My table saw is small. It's portable. You can move it like from.
Oh, you've got one of those really sketchy fold-up ones.
No. I have one you bolt down to something if you want to, but no, it's
All right, enough penis talk. Let's move on to the subject.
Ed's back. We don't want him to embarrass all of us.
Won't embarrass me.
But we know the fact in Ed's house, it's his wife that has the power tools.
Yes, she does.
And she would probably never clean it while watching TV or while drunk.
Also, as a former chef, never clean a meat slicer when you've been drinking.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. And distractions. And this is something which feels intuitive to not clean certain items while distracted, whether it's by television, by alcohol, even by the people around you. I have sliced my finger on a fucking meat slicer, like a deli slicer. It's a beautiful thing.
No, stop. La 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 la
So-
la.
thank you.
I wouldn't be able to get the camera to pick it up, but I've got the scar along the side of the second finger here on my hand to prove you right.
And just like, you unplug your power tools before cleaning them, and you make sure they're not able to run suddenly when you're not looking. Even a circular saw that you can carry around. Before I clean that out, I tend to unplug it. Gary says, nick my fingertip on a slicer. That was it. Someone else could do it. So I think we've laid the groundwork here. Obviously, we believe in reasonable regulation. So now let me go to the dark side here. And Ed, since you may be taking a break again, quickly or not, I'd like to start with you. What is unreasonable regulation that currently exists?
Unreasonable. Well, see, that's just it. It's not here in America. It's not the same throughout the country.
Okay.
So I can't really say what is unreasonable regulation that currently exists.
What regulation are they
Because-
trying to put through that you feel is unreasonable?
Well, two that they, one that they actually have put through is the red flag law.
Okay.
That concerns me.
What is it?
Red flag law basically says we can sit here and hold a conversation tonight, and you can pick up the phone tomorrow, call the police, and said, "Ed said something during this show that has me worried. He might go out and shoot somebody," and they'll knock on the door and take my fucking guns.
Interesting. So Facebook could be the snitch for the police.
Absolutely.
Or any social media, and I point at social media as the gossip font that is fueled by humankind. And I do have another question, because I know we're coming up, thanks to our interruptions, we've lost time. But before we move into this week in history, or if we go through it quick, I want to come back to it, because I definitely want to talk about the media's influence on these things. The shootings as well as the regulation, and me and a viewer earlier were discussing how everything gets blown out of proportion because of a headline. Where if you actually read the article, maybe it's not, or even the article is inflammatory, but it's very much skewed to create a reaction because they want that click, they want that money. It has nothing to do with the issue. It has to do with getting the attention, whether it's a individual or a group. And we'll go into that later. But right now I want to stick with this. Elizabeth, do you have some that you just think is unreasonable regulation that is either current law or they're looking to put into law?
I didn't think about that for the show, but I'm going to agree with Ed because that red flag law violates our Fourth Amendment. And you're basically... the right of the people shall be secure in their persons, houses, papers, in effect against unreasonable search and seizures. Mm-hmm. And so, if someone were to call the government, I guess you could say that's hearsay. And hearsay, I looked it up because I didn't want to sound too much of a fool.
Appreciate that.
Okay, probable cause is a stronger standard of evidence and reasonable suspicion, but weaker than what is required to secure criminal conviction. So I'm not sure if it's enough to get a warrant. and there might have to be other evidence provided, like your actions or arrest record. But that seems like it's an infringement upon a very solid additional right. So it sounds like state law is infringing upon federal law,
See, that
which is not cool.
Elizabeth, you good? Can we pass it to Kevin then?
Yeah,
Chris?
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Go ahead.
that was what occurred to me when Ed said about that. The first thing that went through my brain was, if you've got a gun, so you're telling me, assuming I'm an American citizen, so I can just ring them up tomorrow and make a blanket accusation based on no proof that you said something that involved you shooting someone, and they will automatically come and take away your guns and then worry about whether or not you actually said it afterwards.
Afterwards, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, fuck that noise. And I'm not even American, you know?
For sure. No, you're not.
You know, you could.
Not even that you shot someone. That
No,
you're just
I'm not
acting.
American.
You know,
I'm not
upset
American.
or-
I'm not American, and my father worked in the prison service most of my life, but he also didn't raise a fucking grass.
Your spouse could get pissed off at you. Hell, your kid could get pissed off at you. Daddy said he was going to kill mommy. You know, and
Yeah.
they'll be knocking on your door.
Jesus
And it
Christ.
sounds like they don't even have to have something
it-
where you said you were going to shoot somebody. Just if something happened, I would defend myself is enough to go, he said he was going to shoot somebody.
Absolutely. It's
There are-
so vague.
Chris?
Dare I utter the words Hitler Youth?
Chris, got some thoughts on this?
I mean, I think Ed is right. I think that the law, as written currently, is far too vague. Now, do I think there should be some sort of law in that realm that is like, well, this person, say on Facebook, has been saying hateful, mean things over and
mentioning
over again
weapons.
on multiple occasions,
History.
and
in other
is
words.
getting, threatening towards certain groups of people. You should look in on them. Do I think that is a valid thing? Sure, but I don't think that just because someone said, "Oh, hey, he said this, go take his guns away," should be allowed.
Kevin?
I think basically what everyone's saying is that there needs to be a burden of proof here. Speaking in legal terms, you can't just accuse someone of something and have it believed as truth with a lack of evidence to back it up. You need, as Ed mentioned, history or, some kind of demonstrable proof that goes alongside the accusation that adds weight to it.
That'd be similar
It seems
to
farcical that someone could just point a finger and go, he said this, oh, well, we'll have his guns then.
That'd be similar to Chris going, I am so going to a bar and getting laid tonight no matter what. And we going, he's going to rape somebody, take away his penis. Well, not quite the same. But, yeah, you get the idea. It's that it's not.
It's not a ridiculous parallel.
And
It's a dickless parallel.
It's a.
Go ahead,
It's
Elizabeth.
not, and I don't want to turn the conversation in a new direction, but
No,
I'd
go
like
ahead.
to add that just taking the guns away isn't the answer. Like Chris said, let's say if there's evidence there and this person's disturbed, or perhaps we need to help this person and not just ignore the problem, or just throw them into jail. So now our correctional officers are in danger of this person.
Our whole species
And I
is
think-
built on treating symptoms instead of the cause, though. And you're talking about treating the
Yeah, that's true.
cause. That's crazy talk, woman.
All right. Oh, we're gonna get shut off again. Everybody hang
Any
on.
second now. Go on, Elizabeth. I didn't mean to derail you there, but
No.
But
Yeah,
that's
you
what-
understand where I was going.
yeah,
with
that's
that,
what you're
but-
saying. You're saying let's find out what's the cause of the issue and get to that, because the guns are just a symptom. If the guns weren't there and this person is at that level where they're looking at hurting an individual or a group of people, they're going to find a way to do it. It's the person.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
to throw a blanket across everybody is perhaps unreasonable.
Agreed.
Okay. Now, we've got 3 minutes before the top of the hour in This Week in History. You got some stuff for us, Ed?
It's with everything's been going on, and my stuff is so light. Let's keep on with the topic, unless we have objections there. I mean, I got 2 deaths: Robert Conrad, Kirk Douglas.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Yeah, we could talk about them real quick. Kirk Douglas, wasn't he big in the NRA? Am I thinking of the right guy here? I'm thinking of the wrong
Not that
guy.
I remember.
That was Robert Preston.
No, that's not
Richard Burton. Richard Burton.
Richard Burton.
Mm.
Um. Uh.
Robert
Oh.
Conrad, really?
Moses was big in the NRA. What's his name?
That's what
Richard
Charlton
Burton.
Heston. That's who I'm thinking of.
Robert Conrad was Baba Black Sheep and
Yeah.
Wild Wild West. The
I
original Wild Wild
know.
West.
Yeah, good show. Steampunk.
Hubba hubba.
Yeah, he was a handsome gentleman back then, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And Kirk Douglas. Whew.
I'll tell you what, one of my favorite Kirk Douglas movies is actually a Sylvester Stallone movie called Oscar, where
Yes.
Stallone plays a mobster going straight because his father, played by Kirk Douglas, makes him promise to do it on his deathbed. And Don Amici played the priest, and Tim Curry is in it as a elocution teacher who's teaching this mobster how to speak correctly, and Marissa Tomei is in it, very young, very young. And tell you what, best Stallone movie out there. It's a comedy, it's fun, it's witty, it's like Clue with mobsters. It's just delightful. I highly recommend this silly movie. And if you haven't seen it, you're missing something there.
Which one was it again?
Oscar.
Yeah.
Oscar. I haven't seen that.
Oh,
I think
I
my
have
father
it.
really liked it.
I've tried to show it to Andrea. She dozed off during it. It was one of those nights, but it is just a fun movie. Well worth seeing. And I'd pull up a link so I could tell you more about it, but I'm terrified of the internet right now. I'm not even wiggling my feet in case it hits a wire or some shit. Okay, well, let's raise our glass to these two gentlemen who I don't remember hearing bad things about, and they definitely were a piece of our culture. Here's to them, and
Here's to
others
them.
like them.
All right, I need a break.
Okay, Elizabeth's going to take a break. Now, anybody else need a break real quick? Okay.
I'm good for a minute.
We're going to tread water here when Elizabeth comes back, because it's very important to me that everybody is here for most of the conversation, because, and I'm very pleased. This is amazing to me how I think when going into this show tonight, Chris might have felt he had very different views and opinions from Ed and Elizabeth. It seems that way, but I think with reasonable discussion and discourse, the basics aren't that hard to agree on. Look at Elizabeth's camera.
Oh no. I'm gonna fall.
Dun, 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 dun. Ah! Man down. Medic.
See, and we can see the ceiling fan. Well, at least it didn't fall in her drink, because she's got a big old cup over there. It's and this is something I want to point out to everybody about anything. I think most issues, guns or otherwise, at the most basic level, we all agree with what we want. And a little discussion and a little give and take, and if everybody walks away from the table unhappy, you've done a successful, what's it called when people work together and come to a solution?
Compromise?
Compromise. Thank you, Chris. Very good. You're not as sick as you were. You're thinking very well. Yeah, compromise is not hard. Especially if you can keep the emotion out of it and don't take it personal. And that's the beauty of this show. It's, we can do this. Why can't everybody? There's Elizabeth. We see her. At least she had muted, so we didn't get to hear it. That's good.
It's true.
She'll pull out the duct tape again. Okay. She's almost got it. She's reaching for her headphones. Any second now. There she goes. We don't know.
Dun, dun, dun. Suspense is killing me.
Oh, it's not gonna focus. There it is.
Why Santa got
Oh.
a hole in his chest?
Well, it's a hole in his mouth.
Oh my god. Oh, it's your finger.
But like, look at his face. Hold on, let's.
Is anybody else mentally hearing? Oh.
It had Skittles in it, but I ate them all.
Of course. Elizabeth, welcome back.
You like open up his little mouth and make him vomit out the Skittles.
Hey, it's just like I do with children at Halloween. Elizabeth, unmute yourself.
There we
I thought
go.
I did.
Oh, there you are. Okay,
Okay.
you're back. Great. Welcome back. We got to watch your camera do a slow motion dive. It just crept lower, lower,
Did
lower.
it do a slow motion?
Ceiling fan and cup. Okay.
The end shot. The end shot was very Apocalypse Now, just a rotating ceiling fan in the corner.
Now, we
I was in the bathroom and I heard clunk. I'm like, oh.
at least you were muted though, so that's good. As I pointed out while Elizabeth was gone, this was pretty easy to come to reasonable compromise with reasonable discussion, leaving the emotion out of it. So let's look at what causes this debate to be such a hot topic. And this is where I'm going to start pointing fingers at media and social media. Both of them, they're separate things, but they work in tandem with each other. One person sees a headline, reads the article, but probably not. Just going off the headline, saying they read the article, which might have much more than what that one inflammatory headline has. And then they repost something about this issue on either side of the issue.
Oh yeah, both sides of the issue can get screwed up.
To add more to this, Witches pointed out earlier, it wasn't until the media got a hold of it, which, by the way, when Ed and I were kids, and apparently when Witches was a kid, now this didn't happen in South Florida where I grew up, but in the country, people would bring shotguns to school. They bring their long
Rifles,
weapons.
hunting rifles, yeah.
Not necessarily into the classroom, though on occasion, even that to show them off, but hanging in the back of their truck, etc.
Yep.
This wasn't even thought about as something that would be dangerous. So, what happened? And what's causing this explosion nowadays where you can't even mention gun control without people getting hot? And I also want to discuss the gathering in Richmond a couple weeks ago, because we mentioned it briefly on air. And I don't know the numbers. I'll let Elizabeth or Ed, I'm willing to bet one of them know the numbers of how many gun people showed up in Richmond fully armed for a peaceful demonstration. So who wants to start with this? Who's got some stuff on this? Any of these topics?
Well, it mainly come about. We now have a full Democrat-controlled Congress, Senate in the state capital in Richmond, as well as the Democrat governor, and they are anti-gun. And a number of gun bills have been proposed. Only one has actually passed, and that has been the red flag law. Another that just made it out of House committee, I believe on Friday, it's supposed to get voted on Wednesday, would effectively ban what they like to call assault weapons. It will restrict magazines for all firearms to 10 rounds or less.
Oh.
Shotguns, I think 5 rounds or less. I don't remember if that number 5 is correct, but I think that's originally, if you had a so-called assault weapon, you could be grandfathered and register it and hold on to it. They have removed the registration clause, and if you already own one, you can keep it, although you still can't have a magazine for it. more than 10 rounds. If you are even in possession of a magazine more than 10 rounds, you are now a felon.
Huh.
Has this passed?
It made it out of the House committee on Friday. It's supposed to be voted on Wednesday in the House, and then it will go to the Senate.
So,
Another one that got thrown away, and I'll throw it out there real quick before you ask your next question, Travis, which I thought was very, very important. If you left a firearm where a minor under the age of 18, that age currently now is 12, could get possession of it, and they got possession of it and used it, you could go to jail as the parent. And it did get kicked out, and somebody was like, well, they should have kept that one. I was like, but think about it. I'm 16 years old. I'm home by myself. Somebody breaks into my home. They have a gun. I pick up my parents' gun, and I kill them. My parents are now going to jail.
now I can take my 6-year-old out, hand him a gun, and let him shoot things.
Mm-hmm.
There is no, unlike tobacco, there's no age limit on how old you need to be before you're allowed to operate a firearm.
Correct.
Is that the right terminology? Operate a firearm?
Yeah, sure.
I feel, we're talking about a mechanical device.
I was about 6 the first time I ever shot a gun.
Same here. Yeah.
I was about 5.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, those clay pigeons didn't have a lot to be scared about. But I was given a variety of weapons.
Nor did those turkeys.
Oh, were you turkey hunting?
Yeah.
It said turkeys are afraid of fucking everything, though.
That's funny.
Okay, so is media helping or hindering?
They're not helping. Okay, and getting back to the march, there were about 20 to 30,000 people. The numbers go back and forth between there.
Let's use
At
the
the
minimum.
rally against many of the proposed gun laws. Media played it up as it's a whole bunch of redneck Southern Confederate white supremacists, when that was far from the truth. I mean, photograph after photograph after photograph. There were black people, there were Hispanic people, there were Asian people, there were even gays and lesbians flying their freak flag at the rally in Richmond opposing the gun laws. Media does not help at all.
Elizabeth, anything to add to that?
Media doesn't help. Agreed. I think, well, and who's controlling the media? Who's in charge of that?
Right.
What angle do they want to take? I think politically, it's going to come up anytime someone's running for office, the idea that I can make you safe.
Yeah.
Vote for me and I can make you safe. And it's, no one can make you safe. It's a
Right.
falsity,
Well, also, I don't think it's psychologically the best thing for people to feel safe, because then they're careless. A little bit of concern about your own safety goes a long way in being smart.
Wake up, Kevin.
I'm here with you. Don't worry.
Now, here's the bottom line. For anybody out there who likes to read a news article, please read both sides. Okay? Now, if I throw an article like either Elizabeth or Ed, such as I did today, from CNN, they're going to roll their eyes and, in some cases, even refuse to look at it at all. And I'm saying, go ahead and read it. Because knowing both sides... Now, here's why papers take sides. To make money.
Oh, yeah.
News
It's all about the money.
agencies are entertainment. They're Hollywood people. They're there to make the dollar by you clicking on that article, by you buying that paper, and by you voicing your thoughts on those things. That's how they make money. Just like a McDonald's ad, they're out to get that dollar from you. So read both sides and then draw your own conclusion. If you can only regurgitate what one side has said I have a hard time respecting your knowledge and your intelligence because you're not thinking then. So I encourage you, please have an opinion. But please make sure that opinion is through education, not regurgitation. So, yes, Elizabeth.
All right. I agree. Here, yeah. Well said, sir. Bravo. I was listening to you because I had to kind of think about what my idea here. And there's, I've said before in the show that the government doesn't produce anything except more government. Okay. And I'm very, and, the subtext is, you don't need to be self-sufficient. We'll take care of things for you. You don't need to worry. You don't need to defend yourself. We'll take care of things for you. You don't need a gun. That we'll make everything safe for you. Well, let's ask the American Indians how government made them feel safe after they
Bingo.
Because they brought a knife to
Let's
the
ask the
gunfight.
Jews how they felt after their guns were taken away. Let's ask Venezuela how they're doing once the guns were confiscated and taken away. And I think Americans have a natural, well, not everyone, but generally, a lot of our core beliefs come from our country. Thank you, Britain, for a country. Thank you. And Kev, I have to say this just real quick. At the Super Bowl, the first beer I had when I was watching the Super Bowl, I had speckled hen. And I did a toast to Britain because if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be here. And so I think we're always kind of brothers in arms, although we're the pain in the ass younger brother that broke
With a big mouth, yeah.
But we have that affinity. And I think that's kind of a lot of our core beliefs.
I once saw a brilliant British comedy sketch once that described the British-American relationship as America is the big bully that goes around the schoolyard beating up kids and taking their dinner money. And Britain's the fat kid that goes around behind him and just leans out behind him and goes, yeah.
Yeah. Though, man, UK's feeling its oats lately, isn't it? Past couple of years.
Oh, man. Let's not get started on that 5-hour conversation. Don't light the blue touch paper right now.
It's media is always going to be inflammatory, either organized media.
Yeah, it'll be one way or the other. Right. Absolutely.
Kev?
I think a point we haven't made about media as well is that not only is it inflammatory and inaccurate and unreliable when it talks about the issue of guns, but also that it's extraordinarily hypocritical because it will instantly denounce a shooting incident and will whip up immediately the age-old debate of for, against, like you say, in order to generate clickbait. And it'll immediately condemn, but it'll accept no responsibility for inflammatory writing that I think also plays a part in what motivates some of these people to act in the way they do in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Chris, do you think we'd still have just as many school shootings if the papers didn't blow these things up into infamy?
Yes.
Okay. You want to expand on that? You're good with that. and there's no wrong answer.
I think a lot of those issues go back to the way we treat mental health in this country, mm-hmm. which is a larger issue. Mm-hmm. Now, I think that usually the people who have been part of the mass school shootings have had easier access than most to their parents' weapons. I think there is a level of, well, I think it's safe. They don't know where the gun is. It'll be fine. When in reality, there could have been more safety measures in place to keep said firearms out of the various teenagers or such that have gone on to shoot up their schools.
Fun fact.
So,
with my kid, I never hid the weapons. I walked him to where each and every one is and went, there they are. There's the ammunition. These are tools. Blah, blah, blah. Education, education. And it was a couple years later, I mentioned, he's like, we have guns? And I'm like, yeah, I bought you one years ago, remember? He's like, oh yeah, where are they? Because, and now perhaps my kid is, I'd like to say he falls with the majority. You know, obviously, I'd love to hope that it's the minority that looks at these things going, I could take out that asshole. What drop? Yeah, I know. It's crazy, ain't it? It's, but, yeah, I think listening to. Here's something else. When you see somebody go off on your social media, an individual, not necessarily a news agency, about whatever, scroll back through their shit. Did they have a problem with this last week, last month, last year? Or do they only have a problem when it's in the news? Are they the panic du jour? Or is this something they're passionate about? And by the way, there's nothing wrong with, you have to start sometime being aware and being passionate about the issues. But if every week they're on a new bandwagon, perhaps discount their authority on the topic. As much as we all, when it first started on Facebook, changing your profile picture to the French flag when there's a bombing there, or this place when there's a shooting there, that's great. But perhaps there's more to it than that, than just changing your profile picture to support. I feel like
I'm making a difference.
right. As I think the conversation is very important, but a conversation, not accusations, not finger pointing, not stomping and screaming. That is not a way to educate. Ed, you're already unmuted. You just muted.
I unmuted.
Oh, okay. I heard you get up when you walked away. That's why I thought you were still unmuted.
Oh, okay.
My mistake. But yeah, before you jump on a bandwagon, and it is important to react to terrible things, think how you can make a difference. And that difference might be really as simple as coming on Talk of the Tavern and hanging out and having a reasonable discussion, a logical discussion. You can't. It's very hard to fear something that you've educated yourself on. Knives are scary things in the dark. They're not once they're in the light and you know how to handle one. Elizabeth, go on. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, it's really fun to shoot, especially when you're in a safe environment and, it's very calm. And when I've taken people shooting, the first thing I do is, I generally choose which guns to take, and then I take them apart and I put them back together with them and I show them how they work and I get them comfortable to where it's not this scary, horrible thing, but it is something to be respected, and we go through the rules. And anybody that wants to go shooting with me has to go through that. Now, my friends who are acclimated shooters tend to not. But it is a joyful thing, taking something and getting it to a target, whether it's a bullet or an arrow or a dart or a ball. I've always loved that, and it's very calming and joyful. And it's a shame that it's the only one angle that tends to get noticed in the media. We glorify guns in movies and we admonish them in the media.
Ed.
Some of the same actors, not that we should supposed to take their word for everything, but it's amazing to me how some of the same actors that are very, very anti-gun, they're in the next shoot 'em up movie. It's like
a little hypocritical. That's something else I'd love to see is we're afraid to show a titty or a penis in our movies, and we definitely get on them to the point where even tobacco use or a word, the F word, will change the rating of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
But you can shoot and kill as many people as you want and not hit a rated R as long as you don't show blood. If you look at Disney movies, if death got a rating R, most Disney movies would be rated R. Yes, Kev?
There was that Tarantino did it, didn't he? In Kill Bill, the the katana fight at the end of the first film, where it cuts to black and white in the cinema version, was to affect the rating it got in the cinema. You could only see it in color uncut on DVD release.
Right.
Because the amount of bloodshed in the scene, by making it black and white and therefore not in red and therefore not obviously blood, it got around some rule that reduced the cinema rating.
So I think an answer to this issue we're discussing would be to educate and demystify firearms, and also to perhaps glorify them less. You don't need a gun to be a hero, and there's tons of movies that demonstrate this. Brittany Runs a Marathon is a great movie where there's absolutely no guns, and we definitely have a fucking hero right there. If you guys haven't seen it, it's a sweet movie. Elizabeth, did you watch it yet?
I had. I watched it a while ago.
Okay.
It was fun.
But yeah, it's if we're going to have video games like Fortnite, where's the balance? Even World of Warcraft, which is a fantasy-based game, has guns, but also even if we're just looking at swords. Swords are pretty easy to get. They're not even that hard to conceal. They're no harder to conceal than a shotgun. And a nice dagger is as easy to
Swords
conceal.
are far harder to conceal than a firearm.
Than a shotgun?
Unless you're Wonder Woman.
That's true.
I'd like to comment on that, Travis,
Go ahead.
because let me get the correct one. CDC? No, Department of Justice. 2016, 2017, they ran the statistics. Because we all think of firearms today, and everything that they're not everything, but one of the main things that they're going after is the evil black rifle, the so-called assault weapon. They ran the statistics: knives, feet, hand, and hammers kill 100 times more people a year than a rifle of any kind. Only 3% of the deaths caused per year using a firearm is a rifle of any kind used.
Now,
When they get down to the so-called assault weapons, it's less than 1%.
Now, let's look at, of that percent of gun deaths, gun violence, how many of those are suicide or accidents?
Oh yeah, and you throw that in there, it's damn near 50% are suicides or accidents.
I want to say it's even higher than that, but I haven't looked up the figures, so I could be talking out of my ass. So what I'm saying is this is the media again blowing up. They're grabbing the full figure instead of the actual figure we should be working with.
Well, and even in the actual figure that they work with, they also include what is considered justifiable homicides. A police officer shooting somebody, you shooting somebody that's pointed a gun at you. That is also included in that gun death figure.
Right. So I'm guessing if we went to the actual malicious murder or manslaughter or whatever, blah, 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 that figure is going to be drastically lower than most people realize. And if you look at how many people died of the flu this year in the U.S. alone, and compare that to gun violence, it's... And by
It was
the way,
over 10,000.
Yeah.
It was over 10,000. Let's make that clear. People died of the flu.
Yeah. And I want to say it was 1,800 just of one strain. So
It's an unbelievable number.
Right.
I was shocked when I found that out. Yeah.
Right. There we go.
And
Thank you, Kennedy.
that's not on the news, and that's something that is incredibly preventable
Right.
by not leaving the house when you're sick, washing your hands, covering your mouth. These are things people can do, and they refuse to, and now 10,000 people are dead.
And Kennedy
That
says
means-
8,200 flu deaths last year. So,
200.
Yeah.
Just gone. And mostly kids and the elderly.
right.
That should be on the freaking news. That's important. People are filthy, disgusting bastards.
But if they put it on the news, it will have an inflammatory headline that makes everybody think everybody's going to die. Which,
Truth.
here's a cold...
Well, what is happening right now? Not to take the subject, but we do have some pretty serious viruses right now.
We do.
Changing markets, changing things, and people are disappearing. It's serious. There's a reason why spitting is outlawed. It spreads disease. There's a reason why we have these things. But let's go back to guns. Sorry.
Right. Well, more people have died of the flu than coronavirus so far. Now, the potential is there for coronavirus, absolutely.
Maybe. Do we know? Is it easier just to burn people and get rid of them than cure them?
I saw that movie.
In the book I just finished, after the huge attack by the necromancer with the undead, yeah, they burned every single dead body, whether it was, parallel relation. But my point is about the flu is when the media gets a hold of that, they blow it up too. And then there is a panic. There is corona flu is next. Yeah, John, you might be right. Hello, John. Hello, Kennedy. Good to see you guys. Thanks for swinging by. I don't want to jinx us, but we have had like 3 crashes here when we started this topic. 4 more? I don't know. 52 crashes of the show. Just like every time.
357.
But if you look across the news, if you count all the people on Twitch who had a crash, it's an epidemic. So, yeah, Kennedy says if it bleeds, it leads. So what I'm saying is let's stop the panic. And I'm pointing directly at education. Now, the media is not going to educate you, which is why we're throwing out these facts and figures. It's up to you to take that extra 7 minutes on Google. It's not that hard. Elizabeth's been pulling shit up off Google all night and quoting it. It's not that hard. And yeah,
at reputable sites, I did my fact checking.
Yeah. And you can read potentially unreputable sites such as CNN and Fox News. Absolutely, go right ahead, but dig deeper. Just a little. Go get those federal numbers. Kevin, how many gun deaths in UK this year?
Oh wow, I have no idea. I'd have to look it up.
I can find that out right
Elizabeth will pull it up.
Are you still good? Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm willing to bet there's some.
I was
yeah,
looking
absolutely.
up Hong Kong because I was really empathetic to their plight. Okay.
The freedom plight or the flu plight?
The freedom plight.
Because that's really gone to the wayside with the flu, huh?
How about that?
Interesting.
Just saying.
They're saying the smokestacks and the output has drastically increased in China around that area, Wonton area. Frightening. All right.
Here where we...
Death and injury. Total number of gun deaths in the UK. It only goes to 2015, where I am. It said 126.
Okay. So it still happens. Now, again, if we look at how many of those are suicide and how many of those are police shootings versus, Kevin's
Mostly
grandpa
male.
went on a rampage because he's in a gun club.
In 2015, it says there were 119 male gun deaths and only 7 female gun deaths. Those bitches got good aim.
Ed and I were discussing that the other day.
Well, according to this...
go ahead. No, go.
According to the Heritage Foundation, here's 8 stubborn facts that keep in mind about gun violence just in America. I'll just roll right through them real quick. Violence crime is down, and it has been on the decline for decades. The principal public safety concerns with respect to guns, like we said, are suicides, illegally owned handguns, but not mass shootings. A small number of factors increase the likelihood that a person will be a victim of gun-related crimes, usually where you are, who you know. Gun-related murders are, higher rate of gun ownerships are not associated with high rates of violence and crime, not with the media. There is no clear relationship between strict gun control legislation and homicide or violent crime rates. Interesting. Legally owned firearms are used for lawful purposes much more often than they are used to commit crimes. And concealed carry permit holders are not the problem, but they may be part of the solution. And then the rest of the article has quotes and stats. I can post it if people are interested.
Hi, Jewel. Yeah, go ahead and post it. Kennedy says
Hey,
Kobe
Jewel.
dies in a helicopter crash, and now they're looking at changing helicopters. But but is it that they should be changed, or was it Kobe? I think it's ridiculous for one helicopter crash, though. If this is an epidemic of helicopter crashes, and this is just one that brought to light, then yay, let's take a look at it.
Yeah.
But if and this relates back to our actual topic of, yeah, you have one high-profile thing that the media could run with, and now we have an epidemic where they don't even use the right numbers. Now, that's not all articles, which is why I say read both sides.
But what's interesting is I actually said this over beer the other night with people that didn't exactly agree with everything I was saying. I said it's interesting politically where I think there's a sway now to where I'm always optimistic that we might return to the discussion of ideas and not just the opposing sides. And I think that's the symptom of what's happening with the gun discussion we were talking about, where two sides are yelling, and it's not, there's not a resolution, or, we're just screaming at each other. People get tired of that.
I am reading a very interesting book on negotiation. The power in winning any kind of discussion, argument, negotiation is not in voicing your side. It's in listening attentively, actively to the other side. And it's not trying to change their mind. It's giving the information in a way that they can accept it so they change their own mind. And Jules says she's streaming from work. Her co-workers are crazy tonight.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I know. Why are they crazy? I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. What do you guys think? It's I got like Mark Wahlberg here tonight.
Where does she work? Do we know? Are we allowed to say?
She works in a healthcare facility, a rehabilitation, or perhaps an old folks home type thing.
Is it full moon?
Oh, we had like the snow moon the other day. It was a full moon. I don't think it is currently, but so does anybody else have some stuff to add to this, Chris? Anything from you? No. It's to summarize. I think it boils down to know your facts, educate yourself, educate other people, especially the younger generation, and don't be a moron when it comes to information or operation dealing with guns.
How about holding people accountable too? So when someone breaks a law, let's hold them accountable. When someone misbehaves in school, let's hold them accountable. It's not. I think we inundated ourselves.
But if they're a white male, oh well. Which
can we start having?
I think it's.
Can we have court hearings where you're not allowed to tell the person's sex or race, and the jury never actually sees the accused? You just get facts. I think that might be more fair and balanced.
Or stop excusing behavior, no matter what. If it's someone's culture or someone's color or someone's gender, stop excusing it. Create a standard and just, that is why Lady Justice has a blindfold on. Let's get to that, I mean, I do believe in, there's things that are wrong, things could be better, but also there are things to be, a lot more of us are behaving than not. That's how our society has survived. It's more fun if you behave. Less wrinkles.
Jules says
you can still.
Babylon Bee posted using Walmart's logic for removing guns and ammo from stores applied to car parts. Because of accident rates, Walmart would no longer sell auto parts. Probably wouldn't sell bleach or medication either. It's Yeah, or peanuts.
Tide Pods.
Yeah. Yes, they did have to bring Tide Pods and make them less pretty.
Peanuts, no more bread.
No.
Black market
Get
bread.
rid of all that gluten.
It's a
You
killer.
know, you can't bubble wrap the world. You can't,
And as I said,
Nerf
I don't
it up.
think it's wise to bubble wrap the world. When a kid in Florida 3-4 years ago walked up to the edge of a non-man-made lake, and a gator leapt out and grabbed the little fucker. Welcome to the real world. Horrible, but yeah. Parents need to educate their children, and this is a ground-up thing. It's from the start, and we can't fix it tomorrow. But we can fix it in 1 generation or 5 generations, and it will be a slow change and a slow shift. Accountability is incredibly important, and we've removed a lot of that from our society over the past 20, 30 years. And it was... the logic behind it was valid and endearing to protect our children from abuse and dangers, and this is great. But only to a point. When you remove the accountability... I don't know. This is something we have. Go ahead, please.
There's a comedian. I'm looking him up. I gotta find him. I'm tabbing with one hand, and he's a little bit older. He says things like, he makes fun of this generation, and he says things like, you're trying to child-proof the world, and he says, you know what happened to stupid people in my time?
Good night,
They
John.
didn't
Drive
make it.
safe. Yeah.
Good night, John.
I remember I moved in with a new roommate, and I went into the kitchen, and it was a mess. Like scary, like dirty, scary. And I rearranged the whole thing, and I put all the chemicals, all the cleaning stuff into one place under the sink. And she's like, oh my God, I have a 6-year-old. How dare you put those chemicals within my children's reach? I'm going to have to put Mr. Icky stickers on everything.
Mr. Icky sticker.
Mr. Yuck.
And I'm like, how about you just teach your kid not to drink chemicals? How about you take them over there, show them going, these will make you hurt. Because the kid, they don't really understand these will kill you. They don't get the concept of death yet at that age. These will make you hurt. And the first time you catch them under that sink, I'm not into beating children, but smacking your kid shows them this creates pain. Associate this with an owie, so you don't go near it. I heard a voice. What was that? Oh,
That was me. That was
Okay.
me. I looked at that comedian.
Gotcha.
I remember being six, well, being in my grandfather's house and moving a book or a phone book, and there was this enormous gun sitting there right underneath it. And it was beautiful. It was this big black revolver. It must have been a 357. I wanted to touch it so bad, but I knew not to.
Right.
So I just put the book back on top of it and walked away.
Right. It's
6 years old.
and that's
Then I went and drank all the bleach from underneath the kitchen.
because they didn't have Mr. Icky stickers. This is episode
Is that really a
357.
character,
Elizabeth.
Mr. Icky? Is that a character?
Mr. Yuck.
Mr. Yuck, yeah. Mr. Yuck.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Look him up. He's got it. There was big green stickers and
It's a little sick emoji before emojis existed.
yeah.
And Elizabeth, I don't know if you realize, but this is episode 357, which is why I decided to make it the gun show.
That was the first love. My first love was 357.
It's yeah, it all really does.
Kept my eye open, saw that big orange flame, and that was it.
Almost
Gone
Size
forever.
queen.
almost every social ill, almost every problem we discuss where society... Kevin, you still awake?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay.
No, I'm here.
Almost every problem we discuss, it all goes back to educating and accountability. And-
Absolutely.
And
I feel like most of our topics end with this in mind.
Yeah.
Educate yourself, you dumb fucks.
Yeah.
and if you fuck up, it's on you.
Yeah,
Right.
passion gets in the way, and
Yes.
you know, And then we have a media that feeds on that passion. So,
Yeah.
it's,
And it's in fashion right now to scream the loudest. Whoever screams the loudest is the most right. So
It is.
I
Kenny's,
thought, Travis, when you were after we had the first hour, I thought you said, now we went through this discussion, and now we're gonna. I thought you were saying put emotion into it, and everyone started screaming at each
it accomplishes nothing. If you can discuss the emotional levels reasonably, then that can be accounted in. But that's how you break a discussion, by adding emotion and stirring. Kennedy says, I only tuned in because I thought it was going to cover Magnum condoms. It's
okay.
Yeah. Let me do this real quick, guys. Don't forget you can subscribe using Twitch Prime, which is just connecting your Amazon Prime to Twitch. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe at no cost to you, and it supports the channel. And this month has been amazing. Between the organic subs, the gift subs, and the bit throwing, you guys have done a wonderful job of supporting. And I'm Trigger.
Keltube cheer. X500.
And he shared 10 emotes. Thank you,
Trigger.
Ed. Appreciate the bits. Appreciate the emotes, man. Thank you. It's we didn't get a bit train this time though.
I'm running low on bits. I gotta save my bits.
I tell you what, I had a thought about bits to totally shift topics. I don't know if it was as I was dozing off last night or waking up this morning, but I thought, ban the bots. We have bots in chat. And I'm guessing, like gold farmers and WoW, these bots are actually on our channels hitting that bit counter to get more bits and watch videos. And since Twitch has a limited amount of bits they give out every day, we're losing them to farmers, who then go to a channel owned by them and giving the money. Thus, they're just raking the money a penny at a time and making tons of money this way, and we're unable to get bits to share with our favorite streamers. Bits for free, that is. But what I have found is, even if you ban somebody, they can still watch your channel. So it doesn't matter. And I'm like, what's the solution to this? How do we stop this? Why does Twitch not have something in place for this? And of course, I think Twitch's easy answer is going to be, well, we just don't give out free bits anymore. Which I'd hate to see that. But yeah, I'd love to find a solution. And if banning the bots would do it, that would be great. Because I would.
There's never free bits available when I go. Any time of day. Morning, evening, middle of the night.
Yeah.
There's never any watch videos for bits.
Yeah. I get like one a day, if I'm lucky. If I'm lucky. The last time I got more than one in a row would have been essentially Christmas time, when they ramped up their ad campaign, because it's owned by Amazon, and probably 1/3 of every ad played was an Amazon ad. So, and good marketing there, guys, but yeah, it doesn't really help us. So, I might be writing after this in about 15 minutes. It'll be a few minutes before I get back on, so if anybody's around, please feel free to join me for that, or at least check and see if I am around. Next week, we have anybody got a passionate topic for next week, or a goofy topic that they're passionate about?
Not off the top of my head.
No, but I tried an experiment, because I told you I was making beer.
Uh-huh.
So my little yeasties are, eating their sugar right now, pooing out alcohol. I put on classical happy music for them.
Oh, good, good.
So they were just rocking out.
Jules says you can't legislate crazy, because that's our legislators. Many of the mass shooters killed or hurt family to obtain guns. The system worked to prevent them from obtaining guns legally. This is where you treat crazy. This is, again, our society, our species, I would say, isn't wired to treat a root cause. We treat symptoms, even in our medicine. They're not looking to. They're treating symptoms instead of causes, and until we start treating causes of any number of things, yes, Ed?
Well, one of the things that has happened through time, I remember when I was young, okay, in my late teens and my 20s, if somebody was crazy, everybody knew they was fucking crazy. It was okay to point somebody out and say, "You're fucking crazy." The crazy guy in the neighborhood or in the town or even in the city, everybody knew he was fucking crazy. If you went into the gun store to buy a gun, they said, "I'm not selling you a gun. You're fucking crazy." Everybody knows you're crazy. Then all of a sudden, crazy people got rights. We
Which
couldn't
is,
talk about them being crazy.
which is reasonable
It's
for
a
them to have
medical
rights.
issue.
It's reasonable for them to have rights.
It's a medical issue now. We can't talk about them being crazy. We can't advertise that they're crazy. We
Right.
got to pretend that they're not crazy. So they walk into the gun store and buy a gun.
It's well, again,
When we were in EDI training, they were like, one of the words that you need to stop using is crazy or insane to describe any description, even if you're like, well, that person's just acting crazy today. Like we have to stop using that. I cannot say that at work any longer.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is
Yes.
crazy.
well, you could use
Now
it
that's
that
all
way.
you want to say is crazy.
Yeah, you can use it to say that's
Can you say
crazy.
cray-cray?
You can't say they're crazy. It's
Nope, we can't say that something is crazy. Like, I'm not allowed to say, well, that was crazy, to describe an intense situation.
you can't be like, I went on this
it's not
roller
like you're
coaster.
teaching a class.
Uh-huh.
No.
You're running a theater. You're not.
Correct.
You're not. Yeah. That is. Yeah. Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
What about retard?
Oh, God, no. Are you crazy? Then get me fired.
You can't say fired anymore.
But what if you identifying as crazy?
Oh, that's a good point. When somebody says, "How do you sexually identify?" Crazy.
Crazy.
Crazy. You can't play that song. Crazy. Crazy.
Oh my God, that'd be great if you had a show.
It's on Chris's playlist tomorrow morning.
I'm now making that the new sound check music.
I just imagine if it was in one of the musicals you guys were doing, and they're just like every time you just got to lean over and hit the beep button. Beep for you.
Is that what you had to sit through when you were sick?
But
Is that
yes, that is the training I
Oh.
had to sit through while I was sick.
Oh.
Oh, your own little hell. Jeez. God
Kennedy
bless
says
you.
crazy glue is now non-bipolar eccentric bonding fluid.
Well done. Well done.
I'm all about.
Except that crazy glue is spelled with a K, so it's okay.
That's the excuse. If it slips out and somebody's like, "You can't say that," no, you'll be like, "Nope, use the K."
Use the K.
Like the glue. I just meant they're really well stuck together.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're heavily
Come to
bonded.
this.
No, I think you could use better words than crazy. Their behavior is erratic. Hold on. Well, North Carolina actively stopped state-funded mental health care. They dumped it into the private sector, which wants more money or insurance to treat. It's a. By the way, in case you guys didn't know, I do have. This is applicable, right here in the merchandise. If you go look, there are T-shirts and
some
coffee
merch.
mugs that says "C is not just for cookie." It could also. Chris should carry that, and when they're like, "Well, what is it for?" and you're like, "Not the C word," that I can't say because I can say cunt and cock and coffee.
That's fucked up.
So crazy is now the new C word.
Wow.
Hey, can we go back to using mad? They're mad.
Wow.
Emotionally unstable. Fucking nuts.
There
That
you
works
go.
for me.
Who gets offended when somebody calls them crazy? I mean, I guess if your ire is up and you're
Crazy
ranting,
people.
crazy people. And I'm all for folks who have issues. Really, I had to approve that comment. See, the Brits can't get guns, but they can say cunt. Yeah.
But they can say it in a loving way as well.
Who doesn't love a
I
cunt?
love you, you cunt.
That's right.
I love you too, wanker.
It's see? And,
Stop shite. That was one of my favorites.
C can also be cheers.
Fucking bed end.
Jules says, so the people that need mental health care can't access it. Yeah, it's hard enough
It's true.
when it is state funded to find this help.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're in those situations, you don't know where to look. Right now, I'm dealing with something not crazy, but when it comes to injury or medical, yeah, it's very hard. And yeah, so to not necessarily. What are you drinking, Elizabeth?
Sore throat,
Okay.
whiskey.
Tell something.
I think it's great how it comes in a flask for you. I know what Ed's saying,
It's
and
probably
I
going to
agree
make
with
me shit my brains out
what
later.
Ed is saying. But yeah, let's get these people help, because now we have started moving things into place where when there is somebody that's fucking crazy, there are ways for them to get help. Whereas previously, when everybody knew it and that was the control factor, we don't have to have that anymore. But yeah, this whole thing of getting offended at words, well, the Tavern has a fucking problem with that.
Yeah.
And everybody needs a little help now and then.
Yeah.
I there's no stigmatism. I think we've gotten to, I mean, it's okay. It's okay to go get help when you need it, and it's okay you shouldn't feel ashamed about it.
No, you shouldn't. We still
Sometimes
do.
we all need a little help.
Now let's get a closing quote here. Oh, there we go. It's one from Travis. That's me. Here's to our vices. May we always choose them, but never be slave to them. Crazy ass shit there. She's raising her oh, I thought it was her flask of cough medicine again.
Tell something.
Probably some
I'm only
alcohol.
supposed to have 6 doses in 24 hours.
Well, you're not supposed to take them all at once either.
You take them all at
Don't
once
tell
and
me what
sleep
to
for
do.
18 hours.
18 hours on the road to getting
Look,
better.
the happy elephants told me I could, so I'm going to follow their advice.
See, and she still hasn't shot anybody. Come on. There's no history of it. It's
Yeah, but you know what? And that's one last thing I'd like to say. I don't think everybody needs to own a gun. If you don't feel like you can keep it safe or you don't feel comfortable with it, you don't have
Sure.
to have it.
No, you don't have to have it.
no,
But I will protect my family, my friends, my neighbors,
now, I don't know how much true
with or without a gun.
how much truth there is to this, but I have heard that I think in Switzerland everybody's required to do military service when they turn 18 for 2 years within so many years, and they're issued a long gun, a rifle, and they keep it afterwards. They go home with it. It's your
Yeah,
parting
because
gift.
everybody is considered a member of the militia.
Right.
So by law, they keep their long rifle and boom.
Israel does the same thing.
And they have okay, I'm going to keep talking about Switzerland here because Israel, we cannot talk about gun violence. And if I'm not mistaken,
Are we going to get shut off?
That's a whole other show.
Switzerland has a very low gun violence.
Yeah.
But,
That is
there's a
Israel.
thing of, in a utopian society, I'll say this, in a utopian society, we absolutely shouldn't have to have guns in our homes. We shouldn't need them. But we are
Absolutely.
not in a utopian society. If it was a utopian society, then we would use it the same way we use our video games. It'd be out for an afternoon of fun. You go to the range, you shoot, you go home, and you don't need to keep the gun in your house. But we don't live in that world yet. And I don't know if we'll make it to that world with how things are going. Not just now, over all of our history. Taking at least 7,000 years of recorded history. 13,000 years of recorded history? 45,000 years of potential human existence when we started forming communities. It's not a great track record we have. But, yeah. Gun control is a symptom of a much larger problem that has nothing to do with owning a weapon. So anyhow, let's wrap this up. Let's do some closing music and get out of here. Guys, thanks for sticking through the technical issues. Like I said, I'm going to let Andrea get home, chit-chat with her. Ed, thank you for sticking it through your own technical issues.
Sorry, guys.
Not at all. I do want to let everybody else know, in the first Saturday of March and the first Saturday thereafter from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., I will be doing a writer's show where I'll bring on a different crew of people who are all writers. And it might go to weekly eventually, but right now, you let them get a taste of talking with other writers, and it might go weekly. We'll see. So let's get some closing music. I might be back to write. If not, I am here every day writing. We're out of here, guys.
Thanks for joining
Night,
us for
guys.
discussion shenanigans tonight.
Good night, everyone.
Makes the show what it is. Don't forget to join us at the Tavern next week. Until then, have fun, keep learning, and be good to one another. Now, raise your glass in good cheer. Enjoy the small moments every day and steamy dreams every night.
Gary says, good night, all. Good night, FBI.
Good night, John Doe.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate that, man. What a way to end the show. With bits.